brethren kind and good. So I'll keep moving on. I won't stop now. I'll keep moving on till I reach the top somehow.
Oh yes, my Straight Talk family, it's time to keep moving on. And just remember that whatever your mind conceive, that you will achieve. But first of all, you just got to believe. And whenever you hear that theme song, you know it's time for me to bid you a very pleasant night, St. Kitts and Nevis. And bid a very pleasant night to the entire Caribbean region. And to my Straight Dog family in the Kittitian and Nevision diaspora, I say greetings to all who are logged on to Straight Talk on the YouTube and the Facebook pages. And I say welcome. I can't say good night because we are on the World Wide Web, and I do have listeners from all over the world. And before I forget, I must say a special night to a special listener over there in St. Louis. I've called all the other states. I've called New York, I've called Chicago, went to Texas, New Jersey. I went all over, and I just skipped past St. Louis, and I almost lost my job. I can't call her name, but I know she normally listens, and one of my biggest fans, and I just want her to be a big critic as well. Professor, how are you tonight? But to those in Asia, those in Africa, those in Europe, and the whole lot of you all over North America, so let me say good night. Let me say good morning, and I will say good afternoon, because one of such greetings will be applicable to the region in which you now find yourselves. And we do have first-timers. I look forward to that as well, to giving you welcome for the first time. And if you are a first-timer, I bid you a very special welcome and inform you in the process that Straight Talk is a public service program that facilitates and promotes free expression on all issues of national interest, be they legal, be they environmental, be they technological, social, economic, and or political issues. On Straight Talk, we do provide you with a forum to express yourselves freely. Let's, in the process, try to return St. Kitts and Nevis to what I call the enviable position of being one of the freest countries in the entire universe, if not the freest country in the world. On this program, we try to raise the level of national consciousness. We try to raise the level of national discourse by alerting our people to their rights, to their responsibilities, and certainly to their obligations. My name is Ian Patches Liburd, and I thank Almighty God for blessing me with another opportunity to join you in conversation on yet another occasion, my Straight Talk family. And tonight, I want to apologize because I think I misguided my family, because I was saying or I said rather, on my last program that I would see you next week. I obviously was disoriented, and I thought it was Thursday. But in fact, tonight is Thursday night, and we are here. So for those who are misguided, I apologize. And my Straight Talk family, we normally do our observations in review. And just to inform you as well, our thesis for tonight I've entitled BEAD, Extracting Money or Groundwater. And we'll get to that, but before we as a matter of fact, I should first of all, again, before I forget, I've heard yesterday of the sad news and the passing of Rudolph Pamoten. And I want to take this opportunity to extend profound condolences on your behalf and certainly on my own behalf to his entire family, his wife, Min, his children, and it's an occasion. It's that I've always said to people that death is a process, because sometimes we say anything, we say profound sympathy or profound condolences, and we are sorry. But the fact is, as Jimmy Cliff said, it's who feels it, knows it. So we can't say anything, but the truth is, as someone consoled me some years ago when my mother died, I would cry like a little child, and I felt this hand on my shoulder. And the elder said, "Cheer up, son, death is a process." So I always passed that on. So in passing tonight, I want to again convey profound condolences to Rudolph Pamoten, Professor Moten, I call him at times. And we wish that his soul will rest in eternal peace. And for those who have lost loved ones as well, I may not have heard of it, but we extend condolences to the families as well. I went to the funeral service of brother Hugh Jeffers. We worked together sometime, and I only found out pretty late that he had died, so I went to his service yesterday, and it was such a wonderful service, but so sad to see him gone. My namesake, Ian Slack, I understand will be interred tomorrow, so we look forward to being at that service as well, and support the family, my Street Dog family. And I always hail my young brigade, Tristan, Shama, and Kevin, and all the other young Street Dog family. And again, to that special lady in St. Louis, good night. Don't get jealous of my other friends. It's a good night for everyone as well. But that's a special lady. Sometime, perhaps she'll be on the program with me, and you'll know who that lady is. But my observation in review, a time when we highlight the issues of the day and do some reflection, I ask a few questions, such as what was accomplished, how has it helped others, what has changed since, and what can be expected next. Also, what new we have learned as a people. And my first observation tonight, my Street Dog family, is to inform you that work on the Robert Llewellyn Bradshaw Museum continues even in the face of much criticism from right-thinking citizens. When so many people are enduring hardships in this country, work on the R.L. Bradshaw Museum continues apace. And I find it really sad. And you see, our Prime Minister went to somehow knows it, if that's the term he used, to visit this place. That's so important to him, you know. And yes, Bradshaw was a champion of the poor people. And I believe that Bradshaw must have turned in his grave, as I said this before, several times, as millions of dollars is being spent on this project. Yes, millions of dollars is being spent on this project, my Straight Dog family. Jew informed the country, as a matter of fact, that the project, it's on its way. And he was trying to, in fact, complete it by September. Well, I can tell you it would take a miracle to be completed by that time. But he informed the country about the project in this way.
Currently it's under construction, and we're hoping, really pushing to see if we can complete it by September 16th. I know that's a lofty goal, but we are really pushing. If not, definitely we want to complete it by this year. We expect it to cost in the region of maybe about $4 million. Construction is going on, and to about maybe $4 million grand total at the end of the day.
But my Straight Dog family, that estimate has been revised upwards by 100%, we are told. And that project is now estimated to cost not $4 million, but $8 million. Could you imagine that? Well, it will be a miracle, as I said, if it is completed by September, because the current disposition of the work there tells me that is virtually impossible to complete that in the next couple of weeks. And as I said, the cost has now risen. We are reliably informed to $8 million. And recall, my Straight Dog family, recall that there was no public tender as required by the Procurement Act. There was no public tender. And you can see from the billboard that there were some hand-picked comrades, I call them, architect and project manager services handed to Williams Architecture, owned by Victor Williams. No request for proposals for the contractor, Lennox Warner, another big comrade, my Straight Dog family, and an engineer, none other than Peter Jenkins. And the project is being coordinated by the Prime Minister's office. But the really sad part of this for many in this country is the fact that Dr. Jew has displaced over 4,000 persons from the poverty alleviation program. Think about it. $8 million. The $500 for PAP could have been distributed 16,000 times. 16,000 times. if my maths serves me well tonight, at $500, the cost of $8 million on that project, 16,000 times $500 could have been distributed. But obviously, it is clear to all and sundry that Dr. Drew does not like poor people. That's all I can say at this moment. Our second observation, my Straight Dog family, relates to this, what seems to be a road march now of Dr. Drew. And it relates to this sustainable word. And he's always talking about sustainable this and sustainable that. And more times than ever, he talks about this sustainable island state. My Straight Dog family.
We are on a pathway to develop a sustainable island state. Sustainable island state, which means better living. I want to encourage all of our people and all of our citizens to be part of better living. Our work is important to add to the overall accomplishment of a sustainable island state.
And my Straight Dog family, I want to posit the view here tonight that if this federation is going to become sustainable, then we must ensure that every citizen enjoys the quality of being able to continue improving their lives over a period of time. We must put measures in place to ensure that we meet, beg your pardon, the needs of the present generation without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their particular needs. But when we hear this talk about sustainable island state, it baffles me, and I'm sure it baffles many of you as well. Because how can we be sustainable when we cannot even meet the shelter needs of the present generation? What do I mean? Breaking news, you've heard announced so many months ago. Housing revolution coming to St. Kitts. We are building 2,400 homes, 2,400 homes. And all of them are being built for the bankable. Not a poor man can get shelter in one of those homes. Isn't that sad, my Straight Dog family?
Contract contemplates that it will be individuals. NHC, you apply to NHC, and Prime Minister, I don't know if you have the numbers, but the numbers that I've heard thus far is over 1,100 persons have already applied.
More than that, almost 2,000.
We're almost at the number of persons who are actually going to purchase the home. It is not government buying the houses or NHC buying the houses. It's individuals buying the houses, and that is why it is one of the solutions. There will be other solutions for persons who are not bankable. This is the solution for persons who are bankable and can take a mortgage loan from a credit union or a bank, and they can purchase their one-bedroom house for $111,000, their two-bedroom for $213,000, and their three-bedroom for $297,000.
Just be bankable. Get a mortgage for your one-bedroom house. They live in 6-bedroom houses, living like kings. But poor people can't get shelter under this government. We have a National Housing Corporation Act which says the functions or one of the main functions of the National Housing Corporation is to provide housing or provide shelter for the infirm and the indigent. And this government has embarked upon a program to provide 2,400 houses at a cost of $600 million, which was guaranteed by the government. And not one poor man in this country, and there's so many, would be able to live in one of these homes. They got to be bankable, they said. My other observation as well, my Straight Dog family, looks at the poverty situation in the country. And I listened to Dr. Drew today. I thought I should listen to him, my Straight Dog family. And I did. And I concluded that either Dr. Drew is stupid or he thinks that our people, Kittians and Nevisians, are stupid. And I say that respectfully, my Straight Dog family. Either Dr. Drew is stupid or he strongly believes, he strongly thinks that Kittians and Nevisians are stupid. Which do you think it is? When I look at his academic achievement, I can't call him stupid. So I will say that he thinks that the people of St. Kitts and Nevis are stupid. He talked for almost 2 hours. And he has not said on one occasion what he's going to do to address the cost of living. He rambled about addressing gasoline. He rambled about addressing the bus drivers or the issue with the bus drivers. No, he had. Above all, leading the discussion with the bus driver. Yes, he used to drive bus. He's an advisor. What can he tell the bus drivers? He was never a successful bus driver. What can he tell them? My Straight Dog family. But the Jew Labour administration has not announced to date any clear objectives to reduce poverty amongst families, poverty amongst single mothers and fathers with children, also amongst our pensioners, which is a forgotten segment of our population. It is a forgotten demographic. Look at the poverty alleviation program. And when I listen to this young lady, it saddens to hear her with her academic nonsense. When Senator Philip had this to say about the PAP, the Straight Dog family.
And I actually want us to recognize that the advice we have gotten, particularly from IMF reports, is that we actually need to streamline our social services. And so the truth is, as we look at, especially in social development right now, what we're really trying to do is, as we deliver programs that we know we have had for quite some time, with flagship programs, as we look at restructuring current programs, what we're really trying to do is also go through a research and data collection exercise where we can actually assess and get an idea and evaluate what the needs are of people who are most vulnerable. But it's not, the thinking is not about expanding social services so that we just increase our social assistance budget, because that is in fact not sustainable. And so we understand, of course, that people need assistance immediately, and we really try to service people who are most vulnerable. And so we also want to be able to apply conditions so that when we ask questions like, how are you using the PAP money? We're not trying to be invasive. We're just really trying to understand if it is that you're using this $500 to pay your lights, if you're needing the money to pay for food.
How invasive will they get, my Straight Dog family? And this young senator, holding high the IMF's torch. Who the hell are the IMF to tell us we must streamline our social assistance programs? Are you borrowing money from the IMF to subsidize our programs? Hell no. These Bretton Woods institutions, the World Bank and the IMF, didn't you see what the team unity administration did? When then Premier Harris got in, he paid off the money, the 200 million US or whatever it was. He paid the IMF. That his predecessor Douglas, or from that institution which his predecessor Douglas borrowed money. He didn't want IMF money. How could the IMF tell you to leave 40%, 4,000 people can't buy food to eat? And you're coming with your knee-jerk reactions about school September, and you'll do this and you'll do that. No! It's our money. It's the people's money. Spend it on the people. And the nonsense you peddle today about people can have a run, could have had a run on development bank. Does this Prime Minister understand that he is the Prime Minister? And he must lead by example? My Straight Dog family, when I hear him at times, it saddens me. Saddens me, my Straight Dog family, talking about run on the bank. Talking about Team Unity owed Social Security $100 million. How much money did the predecessor to Team Unity owe Social Security? That's what the Social Security do. It's part of the investment. Change the legislation. Do you want them to invest money outside and lose it? You talk about the National Bank. That's what they did. They lost on an investment or investments. The year before, they made profit, millions of dollars of profit on the investment. But that's the risk of investing overseas or anywhere, for that matter, my Straight Dog family. But those are my observations and review, my Straight Dog family, and I will move hastily into my thesis for tonight, my short dissertation, which I have titled BEAD, Extracting Money or Groundwater. And my Straight Dog family, it is said that monetary policy is the bedrock of any nation's economic policy. From workers to financial institutions, all are impacted as it shifts. Central banks use monetary policy, my Straight Dog family, to manage the supply of money in a country's economy. Not so it seems, though, with our groundwater production policy in St. Kitts Nevis. Clearly, such a policy should be governed by the Watercourses Act and Watercourses, I should say, and Waterworks Act, Cap 11.06, and subsidiary legislation. It should be governed by this act, my Straight Dog family, the Watercourses and Waterworks Act, Cap 1106. But my people, I'll get back to the legislation. But based on empirical evidence, one can glean that extracting taxpayers' money from the treasury in Charlestown or the treasury in Basseterre is done at a rate that is umpteen times faster than pumping water out of the ground. Now, groundwater is the largest source of usable fresh water in the world. In many parts of the world, my stray dog family, for example, especially where surface water supplies are not available, domestic, agricultural, and industrial water needs can only be met by using the water beneath the ground, my stray dog family. Here in St. Kitts and Nevis, and I speak more to St. Kitts, the situation is like this, my stray dog family. In St. Kitts and Nevis, the situation is like this. In St. Kitts and Nevis, here, let me stop this for a moment. Pause this one. What am I doing here? In St. Kitts and Nevis, my stray dog family, the water production and use, I must say, it's different, as you can see displayed on your screen. As you can see displayed on your screen, my stray dog family, first of all, I should perhaps go to the sources. And the sources of water, my people, we derive our water supply from two main sources: surface supplies, springs and streams. And there are 6 main surface sources. Of course, we have groundwater wells. We have, I believe it's 25 or 26 active wells in St. Kitts. And yes, the sea is another source of water, in that there's private development in that area. The Marriott Hotel has its own reverse osmosis or desalination plant, and so too does the Park Hyatt. So these two, the water production use, and I may have to revise this somewhat, but it's, I would say, as we say, E and OE, errors and omissions, can be expected. But the average production of 5.5 million gallons, and you can see the production has moved from 2015 with additional wells and additional water coming to the system, and now it's moved to over 4.2 million gallons. But the supply is outstripped nonetheless by demand, because we've had some 5 million gallons in demand. Now, groundwater accounts for over 60% of the water that's demanded. Our surface sources are 26%, and our private reverse osmosis plants, the Marriott and the Park Hyatt, as I said, account for about 10% of the water supplied. Now, my stray dog family, I gave you that snapshot because the thesis tonight, as relates to bedrock exploration development technologies, BEAD. For BEAD, it seems as if this company operates on the premise that the water stored in the ground is like money kept in a bank account, and we must be wary about the money being withdrawn at a faster rate than the new money is deposited. If that is allowed to continue, my Straight Dog family, there will eventually, certainly, there will be account supply problems. And I say so because when we look at the situation in Nevis, for example, my Straight Dog family, the situation in Nevis, as reported by Mark Randley just a few weeks ago, is this.
As I indicated publicly before, we had made a commitment to have an additional 3 wells done at a global cost of 10 million EC dollars back in 2017. In fact, it was in August of 2017 that we paid to a company called BEAD just over 2 million EC dollars as a down payment. BEAD has never come to do the work for the government. And so we don't have our $2 million and we don't have any wells. We have decided to take legal action against BEAD that is ongoing. So it has not been for want of trying in relation to water.
That's what I'm saying, my Straight Dog family. If the money is extracted faster than it is deposited, just like the water needs replenishing, or the aquifers or the wells need replenishing, so to your bank accounts need replenishing. And as I said, the account supply problems in Nevis. But don't you find this queer though, my Straight Dog family? Because here we have one entity within our federal structure, to wit the Nevis Island Administration, taking legal action against a foreign company. And for the other entity, which is the St. Kitts government, the St. Kitts government is in a nutshell the federal government. Our federal elections are elections to elect the St. Kitts government. But one entity, to wit the Nevis Island Administration, is litigating against a company, a business. But in St. Kitts, it is business as usual. I find that quite perplexing. I find that weird. And I can say this much, because Mark Brantley said this has gone on since 2017. We sat in the cabinet and scratched our heads about dealing with BEAD, when in fact the NIA, unknowing to us, was doing just that and could have warned us, and they would have had their money and get water elsewhere. But the controversy with this BEAD company doing business in the Federation dates back well over 15 years, my Straight Dog family. Well over 15 years, I tell you. This was the headline in an October 17 publication of the St. Kitts Nevis Observer, my Straight Dog family. Way back in 2007, my Straight Dog family. This was the headline. It reads, you can see for yourselves, amid much controversy, drilling for water begins on Nevis. And that's the Observer article dated, as I said, October 17, 2007. That's 16 years ago, my Straight Dog family. 16 years ago. In this article, my Straight Dog family, in this article, Dr. Cayon, in this article, Dr. Tim Cayon, my Straight Dog family, wrote, and he said, drilling, he said, my Straight Dog family. For water on Nevis will start this month, according to Carlisle Powell, Junior Minister responsible for public utilities and the environment, he said, my Straight Dog family. This, he went on to say, my Straight Dog family, was, despite conflicting reports and controversy over the feasibility of the venture, questions about the credibility of the group contracted my Straight Dog family to do the work, suggestions of shady deals and political favoritism, my Straight Dog family. And if we continue, a name, Dr. Morgan, came to the fore as well. And it reads, as previously noted in The Observer, my Straight Dog family, of July 29, 2007, Dr. Dale Morgan, Professor of Geophysics and Associate Director of the Earth Resources Laboratory, ERL, at the renowned Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, claims the drilling plans are based on bad science and will cause permanent damage to Nevis's ecosystem, my Straight Dog family. In an interview as well, my Straight Dog family, with The Observer, Bison was asked if BEAD signed a fraudulent contract in Grenada, to which Bison agreed. What happens, he said, when you go to the court with people who are villains and basically have no assets? They're just ghosts. They're not real. This is pure chicanery on the part of these shadows of mine. The only thing you can do is throw light on them. And Bison concluded, my Straight Dog family, and I quote, it cost me $500,000 to fight my shadow. As for BEAD's success rate in Grenada, after being awarded the exploration contract there, Bison pulls no punches. And he says they haven't produced a thing. To the best of my knowledge, they haven't performed at all in 2 years. September 16th is when they signed the contract, which was supposed to deliver 4 million gallons a day within 9 months. It is now 24 months. There's plenty of documentation out there, and this can be all derived independently, my Straight Dog family. But let's fast track to right here on St. Kitts. When the Labour Party, my Straight Dog family, the Labour Party government, that should be, signed a contract with BEAD 1 month before the elections of February 2015, my Straight Dog family. 1 month before the elections of 2015. And yes, things change in 2015, my street dog family. Things changed in 2015 after the elections of February 2015, my street dog family. And BEAD, the price payable to BEAD agreed by the government of St. Kitts and Nevis. The contract was for $4 million for the delivery of a supply capacity of groundwater of 2 million imperial gallons per day to the government's water distribution system. US $2 million for each 1 million imperial gallons per day of water that is developed and delivered by BEAD, up to a maximum of US $4 million US. The contract price payable in accordance with clause 28 of the contract by Straight Dog Family, or the agreement. The other price and payment by Straight Dog Family is listed here as well on your screen, my Straight Dog Family. And very interesting, my Straight Dog Family. A US $750,000 should have been paid or as a down payment for mobilization. And that check was paid or written the very day after the February 15 elections on February the 16th. There's quite a lot of things I can say, but I'll reserve what I have to say until some other time. But truth be told, my Straight Dog Family, truth be told, BEAD reneged on the agreement, which should have been executed within a stipulated period of time. And there are facts that are known, and there is an assessment of the performance status of the contract with BEAD, my Straight Dog Family. As of January 8, 2019, 4 years after signing the contract, we had just 500,000 additional gallons of water per day in the system, extracted from a less than 400 feet deep well, when the contract specified quite clearly 2 million gallons to be extracted from groundwater located in bedrock aquifers not less than 400 feet below ground level. I may add that despite that fact, the contract specifically reserved the right to the government of St. Kitts and Nevis to drill and to contract for drilling at shallow aquifers no more than 400 feet below ground level. The government of St. Kitts and Nevis also reserved the right to engage a third-party expert to ensure that production wells were drilled, constructed, installed, and tested in accordance with ASTM standards by Straight Dog Family. And the government, yes, engaged an OECT OET, beg your pardon, in keeping with its rights. In keeping with its rights, my straight dog family, according to section 10.2, subsection 2 of the agreement, which reads, the government of St. Kitts reserves the right to engage a third-party expert to ensure the production wells are drilled, constructed, installed, and tested in accordance with the ASTM standards. All costs associated with engaging a third-party expert shall be borne by the government. And that's exactly what was done by Straight Dog family. Furthermore, my Straight Dog family, until now, 8 years after the contract should have been completed, the government of St. Kitts and Nevis has not had any results of any groundwater exploration program that BEAD was contracted to carry out. There's also reason to believe that the groundwater exploration results upon which BEAD relied was the work product of OET, which was done under a separate arrangement with the government. OET is a well-known and well-established American-based international company. Its first engagement by Straight Dog family was completed in 2009, and the report is still with the Ministry and the Water Services Department. The current manager and water engineer, Cromwell Williams, is quite familiar with all of this information, and you can reference him if you need so, my Straight Dog family. But I do not need to say much more about OET or its principal director, Sandy Nettles, as I hold no brief for Mr. Nettles. I was headhunted by Prime Minister Denzel Douglas to work as project manager of the United Nations Environmental Program funded project titled Rehabilitation and Management of the Bastille Valley as a protection measure for the underlying aquifer, with Sandy Nettles, who was the consultant who worked with the UNEP. Recommendations, beg your pardon, and expected outputs were all achieved by Straight Dog family. Output 1 was here, my Straight Dog family. Very clear to you. And the recommendations as well. But the output 1 spoke to additional, as you can see, water supply need to be developed, my Straight Dog family. And it also recommended a phase 2 of the project. So it was always agreed by the then Prime Minister and the ministry that there should be a phase 2 of the project. And that is something that's well known, my Straight Dog family. I'm giving you all this information, you see, and I took the time to outline from whence we came, so that we all may understand where we are and where we are heading to, especially in light of the fact that last week a foul lice got into the hen house, to use a colloquial term. Yes, a foul lice got into the hen house. For that reason, it was important to make certain that the hen house was properly fumigated to avoid infestation. A lot of blame has been peddled all over social media as well with respect to finding water in Cayon. And we remember this political pronouncement, my Straight Dog family.
I just wanted to make a quick comment before we proceed.
Yes, I wanted to announce to the nation that we have struck water in Cayon today.
Wow. Wonderful.
So the next step now is to get to where most of that water is, and then we have to test it to see if it is potable.
Excellent. Thank you very much. There again, your government
Potable.
working for you.
Potable. Some people say potable.
So yes, my Straight Talk family, that public pronouncement, Dr. Drew has been celebrated as well on Facebook, my Straight Talk family. He has been celebrating on Facebook, and perhaps he has good reason to do so. But my Straight Talk family, meanwhile, the drill rig has been dismantled. The drill rig has been dismantled in Cayon. Straight Talk can confirm. And the well has been capped. My Straight Talk family. The well has been capped. You can see from your screen as well, my Straight Talk family. The latter provides a stark reminder, though, of the well at Shadwell 2, which has been capped by BEAD now for 6 years. And this is the Shadwell 2 well, capped now since 2017. We should have been receiving approximately 370 or 80,000 gallons of water per day. And that has not been realized, my Straight Talk family. But hear this. Dr. Drew asked us to pray for the people of Cayon. And I agree with him. I agree with him. But it takes more than prayer. So, one of the first things you must do is to stop behaving like the ancient mariner, because you brush away the frost that rhymes your beard, or else you may soon end up shouting, water, water everywhere, and not a drop to drink. Dr. Drew must stop lying about team unity, because in fact, Dr. Drew, it was Sean Richards who claimed that he signed the BEAD contract in December of 2021.
As a matter of fact, when I was the minister with responsibility for public infrastructure, I took the opportunity to sign a contract. That contract, in the first instance, called for the correction of the water coming from a well in the Shadwell area, referred to as Shadwell 2. The quality of the water there is compromised. And the second aspect of the contract called for the drilling of a well in Cayon to identify an alternative source of water for the people of Cayon. Unfortunately, it came at a time when COVID was very much with us. The company BEAD came in a first time and began doing some work relative to correcting the issues at Shadwell 2. Unfortunately, the company did not have the equipment required to get the corrections done to Shadwell 2. And so that frustrated the work. The company did leave. And it also was at a time when you came into the federation, you had to do quarantine. And so the company had concerns about that also. The company eventually left with the intentions of coming back to complete the work with Shadwell 2 and also to do the drilling in the Cayon area. My last conversation with BEAD, just before I left office was that BEAD is supposed to be returning during the course of this month to begin drilling for a new well here in Cayon to supply the people of Cayon with water to bring this issue to an...
My Sherlock family, I believe Sean Richards. I was not in the cabinet in 2021. So you ask yourselves, why is Dr. Drew perpetually lying? Dr. Drew lies, as my grandmother would say. He lies like when a horse is trotting, my straight dog family. According to the agreement, the government of St. Kitts and Nevis reserved the right, as I said, to drill and to construct for drilling at shallow aquifers, not more than 400 feet below ground level, my straight dog family. In plain common English, all that says the government owns the water rights to all groundwater aquifers that are present around the island at depths less than 400 feet below land surface, if we interpret that anomaly that way. By this BEAD contract, my straight dog family, by this BEAD contract, BEAD now controls the water rights, it seems, to all groundwater in St. Kitts that resides in aquifers that begin below a land surface elevation of 400 feet for a period of 15 years, starting in June 2015. This BEAD contract was for a maximum of US $4 million to be completed by December 2015, my straight dog family. The scope of work under the BEAD contract included groundwater quality that meets WHO guidelines, the World Health Organization guidelines, that pumping stations be equipped with chlorination systems, pumps, and motors, standby generators, fuel tanks, and 2,500 feet of appropriate pipe size and material to connect the Water Services Department or the Water Services Department, the Water Distribution Network, my straight dog family. BEAD had so many contractual violations. BEAD failed to meet the commencement date and term stipulated. As a matter of fact, in a progress report on BEAD deep well drilling project, authored by Denison Paul and dated September 21st, 2015, and still in my possession, he concludes, we therefore need to make provisions for BEAD not delivering in late 2015 as planned. My straight dog family, BEAD had so many contractual violations. I did my research and I challenged the manager and water engineer to do the same. And he will find that ASTM guidelines, there's a standard guideline to aquifer test methods in determining hydraulic properties by well techniques, my Straight Talk family. It requires a minimum of 3 observation wells constructed with the monitor well's surface casting set to the same depth, and the well screen intervals to the same depth interval as the production well being tested. Finally, my Straight Talk family, what is troubling, however, is the content of the agreement with BEAD, which suggests that BEAD now controls the water rights to all groundwater in St. Kitts that resides in aquifers that begin below a land surface elevation of 400 feet for a period of 15 years starting in June 2015. That has to be challenged. Because when you look at the Watercourses and Waterworks Act, watercourse in its interpretation means any pond, spring, stream, or part thereof vested in the Crown, or which shall be declared to be subject to the provisions of this Act. And waterworks means, on the other hand, all reservoirs, wells, dams, tanks, cisterns, tunnels, filters, beds, conduits, aqueducts, pipes, standpipes, showers, valves, pumps and engines, culverts, and all machinery and appliances, lands, buildings, and things used for and in connection with the supply of water, which have been constructed or maintained from public funds, or which hereafter be so constructed or maintained. My Straight Talk family. But this is interesting. Waterworks, or watercourses and waterworks, vesting of in the Crown. And subsection 3 of the Act states, and I quote, all watercourses and waterworks which immediately before the coming into operation of this Act vested in the Crown shall continue so to vest, and any waterworks, I repeat that, any waterworks which may be constructed under the provisions of this Act shall vest in the Crown. We will nevertheless keep hope alive for the residents in Cayon and elsewhere, my Straight Talk family. But do not be fooled by these politicians, my Straight Talk family. Do not be fooled by these politicians. There are some who would deliver water in fire trucks. But it takes time to develop wells, my Straight Talk family. It takes time like this, my Straight Talk family.
From your experience, Mr. Williams, how long typically does it take from beginning to end when we can actually see the well functioning? How long will it take?
That's a very good question. Of course, a typical well will in that area will be several hundred feet deep, probably about 3 or more 100 feet deep, and that process of drilling that well should take a couple of months if it is successful, because we have to realize that well drilling is a high risk process, because it is difficult to determine exactly what you're going to find when you drill 300 feet or more down into the ground. But we are assuming that we will be successful, and once we're successful, we then have to develop that well, and the whole process could take, I would say, anywhere from about 6 months from the time you start drilling to the time you're expected to get water from that well.
You've heard that from the manager and water engineer, my Straight Talk family. In the meantime, Straight Talk has learned that BEAD has requested more money from the Jew government to start drilling another well. My Straight Talk family, what do you think about this company BEAD? Extracting money or groundwater? That's my story tonight, and I'm not going to change it. I'll open the lines, my Straight Talk family. And I know you're not seeing my handsome face on your television screens. There's some malfunctioning, it seems, with my camera. But nonetheless, we'll get that sorted out. But we'll open the lines, my Straight Talk family, and entertain your calls and your emails. I always like to implore you, though, when I open the lines, which I'll do so any moment now, respect others. And of course, to achieve that, you must first respect yourselves. Let us try to be fair to all concerned. Let us try to build goodwill and better friendships. Let's, my Straight Talk family, in the process of saying and or doing those things, let's try to build and make life better for others. And in the process of saying that and or doing those things, let's strive for a kinder, gentler St. Kitts and Nevis. With that said, at 9:17, I thank this caller for holding, and I go to the lines. Caller, you're live.
Patrick!
My brother. Yes,
how are you?
I am peaceful, John.
You look like a start the morning light and you have us in the game.
Yes. You're coming from...
Hey, Patrick, watch you. You got a serious problem going on in St. Kitts, see? Right now. See? Bristol! The two brothers shouldn't be in the jail when government order money. During the pandemic, when government shuts down, they used to up and down when we couldn't come out, when you had the curfew. Walking throughout the island, making sure the country clean. Patrick, I jam down. It's saying, if the all social security money, the government has a right to write it off, let them pay them the money where the government owe them, give them a clean slate. If the organ, you deal with it. But they need to get a boy like other people. You have big contract to support government. To support government. All kind of poor people. And Prime Minister write off the money. I'm saying, Patrick, Bristol them come from poor family. And if them could get preferential treatment, these two poor business gentlemen should get the same. This is what Jamdong is saying as a petition. You cannot do that to them. Got them over in the prison like they're criminal. They ain't going to be killing nobody. They used to assist the government in this country, Patrick. Now, Patrick, what you feel about that? It's so bad. It's so bad because these fellas give poor people employment. It's so bad, Patrick.
Well,
and it's a serious concern.
Well, I'm not. I won't support forgiving the debt. But if government, if you owe government,
Patrick,
yes, sir.
Patrick, listen, Jambo. Get them out the prison. Get them out the prison. Call them into social security. Along with the government must influential to get that done and let them know. Pay all you could pay, but don't get them in the prison. Because other men moving around. Up and down town, only going, the debt was wiped off. Petition. They could get preferential. They should be able to get preferential, Patrick. And that sensation shouldn't get the money. But do something in them. You shouldn't get them all in the dungeon there. You shouldn't get them in the dungeon like that, like they're criminal, like they kill 30 men. The Prime Minister before could do it for other people. And other people, Father, why you can't get it done? Patrick, this jam now, you know. I go on here. I'm going to talk here. You understand? But Patrick, let me ask you a question. You know where the Prime Minister had a press? You know where the Timothy Harris had a press conference to the future?
Not to my knowledge. Not to my knowledge.
Oh, Well, he was a war, but I know he won't come. Because I know he better than them. And then I leave him, you know. Then I leave him, he better than them. For 20 years. A big difference for 7 years, a big difference in this country. That young man over there in the country into this country. And me, John, now is not going against Timothy. He better than all of them. This fellow, Patrick, all color, all faces, man was getting out there to them, trying to unify the country. What is it about here? Why man want to feel like they could demonize Timothy? Like he's from Asia and Europe. He's from Sanchez. I'm against him. As long as Kiddush doing good thing in the car, I give him in the car. That's it. You have a good night. A old man tell me when they push him down Tibo Avenue, and he look at the long pier, he said, Patches, do that. Have a good night.
Have a good night, my dear brother. Have a good night as well. Yeah. In relation to the question, though, I believe I was saying if government owes you money, I'm generalizing you, right? Then if government owes, if you owe the government, beg your pardon, $1,000, and they have $3,000 for you, then they won't give you the $3,000. They'll deduct their $1,000. So if the government owes the good gentlemen, as been intimated, then they should just pay the Social Security the money, and then that's one way of solving that problem. They understand that government owes them a lot of money. I cannot confirm that anyone one's debt was forgiven. I've heard the rumors over the years, but I cannot really confirm it, so I really won't subscribe to peddling that story. I'm not saying it is wrong, but I'm not saying it is right either. The story is correct, or I'm not saying it is a true story or a false story, but I believe that they should have there's equality across the board. Let's take a few of the emails. But our lines are open, my Stray Dog family. Don't mind you not seeing me on the screen. There's some malfunctioning going on with my camera, so I do apologize for that. But as long as we have the sound, then we are all right. The water in Cayon, Monk Hill, and other communities. No relief with our electricity bills. Only threats to disconnect us. No lands since August 2022. We can't pay for our lands. No housing. The mud houses need another year to build. No peace. 19 murders, robberies every week. No PAP, no food vouchers, no jobs. No STEP program only for a few labor supporters. No proper patient care at the hospital in a complete mess. No new dialysis machines, only used discarded ones from a hospital in Canada. No relief in payments for dialysis treatment at JNF. Sick patients have to pay $600 up front. No toilet paper and no soap in government bathrooms, including schools, hospitals, clinics. No money in poor people's pockets. Everybody a ball. No new investors. They say they were waiting on a change in government. I guess they are still waiting. No CBI that you managed to mash up in 1 year. Nothing doing in the country. The country is in the red. Only a few labor people are getting through, while the rest of us must hush and wait. There will be no labor government after the next general elections. Let's go back to the lines. Caller, I thank you for holding your live.
Hello, Patrick. How are you?
I am peaceful, my dear. Yourself?
I'm good, too. So, talking about the houses that they were supposed to build. The houses that they show them in a picture is some houses from New Jersey, some senior citizen houses in New Jersey. That's why the rooms them are so small.
Uh-huh.
and up to now they can't even bill show them it's the sample of a house. And and he talk about water in Cayon. So what you saying that the water the well cap?
Yes, I saw the well cap today. I saw it myself, yes.
Well, and today he was talking about the water in Cayon. So that they get water in Cayon, but they have to go and test it. So how come now with the well cap? They support. I think when they get the water, up to last week someone called and talking about the water in Cayon. I think they should have waited until when the water tests and then they celebrate.
Sure.
One of them talk about today, one of them call about the food handed out in Cayon. He don't say money can buy election. So now food buy an election. And also he talk about the getting back Cayon into a town. He gonna take back the post office back into Cayon. So the post office is still part of St. Mary's Parish, but let take it back to Cayon. Let he take it back to Cayon.
Well, there had to be some reason why the post office was closed there. I can't recall because it's been closed for a long time. I'm trying to establish why it was closed, really. But there had to be some reason why it was closed. But
I understand that they had a mole in the post office in Cayon.
Okay.
The building there, I understand that it had mole. Mm-hmm. So that's why they moved it over into Lodge Community Center.
Oh.
Lodge Anakis Community Center. So, but he say he want to make Cayon back a town, and a town it's not a town without a post office. They have police station there, so they need the post office because then they have the churches and what's not. Okay. So later hurry up, take it back to Cayon because we part the post office it's part of St. Mary's Parish also. Mm-hmm. But they go back to Cayon. So when he talk about the food given out in Cayon, it's just a belly full. Mm-hmm. It's just fooling off the people with a belly full and telling them Cayon this and Cayon that. He need to come better than that. I was listening to that and I get a headache because I don't know what he's saying. Oh, and how come they make a year? Everything they compare themselves with the team unity. How come they're not comparing themselves the year that they make to compare the year with team when team unity was in first? How come they're not comparing that? How come they're not comparing that? Everything, the farmer government in, and the farmer government didn't do this. Well, how come now they're not comparing the year to the farmer government here when they was first in? Anyway, I'll be back.
Thank you for your intervention, and thank you for keeping them honest as well. And you mentioned the well. We like to bring the information, and you're not seeing my picture on the screen, but this is the well in Cayon, as you can see on your screen, my Straight Dog family, and that well is capped, as we see. You can also look at this picture. The rig has already been dismantled. Obviously, it's done its drilling, and I gather that they have requested more money. And, as I said, the business of BEAD seems to be extract money. This message reads, my Straight Dog family, good night, Patches. I listened to Lennox Liburd when he called into your show on Monday last. He's obviously a paid apologist for BEAD. Be that as it is, we need to understand a few things regarding this company BEAD. You were the minister with responsibility for water between 2015 and 2020, approximately 5 years, so you must know. I need you to tell us how many gallons of water BEAD delivered into the water distribution system during those 5 years. I don't want to hear about well capability or capacity. I want to know how many gallons of potable water they actually delivered for the millions of dollars that they were paid. Well, that's a question. Shadwell 1 was drilled by BEAD, and in contravention of the conditions of the contract, because Shadwell 1 produced water at just over 250 or 60 feet. And when BEAD is contractually obligated to find water 400 feet and below. So one can ask you the question, was that water stolen? Because you are supposed to build below that. But let's go back to the lines. I'll get back to that. Caller, you're live. Hello, caller.
Good night, Mr. Patrick. Good night.
How are you? How are you, the Bible man? Good night.
Well, I made a mistake last week. I am living so happy that I didn't realize that
Monday
is one of your days.
Okay.
So, Mr. Patel, do you know God is a good God, Mr. Patel?
All the time.
And do you know that God look after your people?
All the time. All the time.
So, God is real.
Yes.
That is, it's a what shall we render unto the Lord for all his benefit? He will take up the cup of salvation and call upon the name of the Lord your God. That is, the word of God says, you look unto the hills. When cometh my help?
My help cometh from the
My
Lord.
help cometh from the Lord, which made heaven and earth.
Yes.
My brother, when you look to the east, the west, the north, and the south, there is no other help. And I'm saying tonight, the only thing that bring this country together is prayer. When people fall on their faces and cry out to God, and the word of God says, if my people, which are called by my name, will humble themselves and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, he said, yeah, here, he's going to heal their land and forgive their sins. Good night, Mr. Patrick.
Yes, the Bible man. Good night as well to you. Always grateful for your contributions. Good night, Patches. Reads this email. Dr. Drew has no mandate to be the leader of the Labour Party. And that is why the country is in such a mess. How could a real Labour stalwarts allow a man to be elected leader who only received less than 50% of the votes during the special convention in 2022? This was a serious breach of the party's constitution. When Dr. Drew received 187 votes of the 405 delegates who were present and voted, beg your pardon, there should have been subsequent rounds of voting until a candidate received a clear majority. Dr. Joe continues to willfully exclude Dr. Douglas, who is the most outstanding politician in the Labour administration right now, from high-level decision-making. He is also diminishing the efforts of Minister Maynard because he knows that they are more popular than he is. Congress or Douglas should challenge Dr. Drew for the leadership of the Labour Party at their next convention, reads this email. Very interesting. Good night, Patches. I hope you are aware that it is people like Dwyer, Sam, and Marcella who are controlling and instructing Dr. Drew. These failed politicians are still afraid of Dr. Douglas and are still trying to be relevant in this country. They were ministers for many years without getting anything done, but now want to blame Dr. Douglas. It is the same Sam and Dwyer who caused Labour to lose the election in 2015 and should have never been allowed to return to the Labour Party. Patches, you of all persons should know that it was Sam and Dwyer who were the main architects of the formation of PLP. But because they couldn't get their way with Timothy Harris, they jumped board again like a set of political prostitutes, reads this email. It's now 23 minutes before the 10 o'clock hour, and my Straight Talk family, my screen is not allowed, my camera is not allowing you to see me, but certainly you can hear me. So I apologize for that, but let's keep the dialogue going. Again, the lines are open. The numbers 663-6672 or 646-829-6672. And those who like the cloak of anonymity, as I call it, you can access the program via our email platform, which is straighttalkpatches@gmail.com. For those who may have just joined me, we are in fact looking, we considered our thesis tonight, which is BEAD, extraction of money or groundwater. And that's the question we ask, and perhaps you would know as well what is the real response to that. I brought you background of the BEAD and its performance here, but let's go back to the lines and say, caller, you're live. Hello, caller.
Hi, Patrice and me.
Yep.
Listen, when they're talking about the IMF, tell them to trim down the pop. The IMF money, or they go back to the IMF for money? Because the way I understand, the IMF tell you what to do when you borrow money from them, isn't that?
Exactly, you're right.
So how come now this girl gonna say that how the IMF tell them to trim down the pop? So that means so they're not talking the truth. Sooner or later they're gonna come and say they had to borrow money from IMF, but they're bringing it out. They're bringing it out in a smart way.
It is foolhardy, really, to say that the IMF make a recommendation, you follow a recommendation, and you leave 4,000 people off the PAP. You know,
that means they went and borrow money from the IMF because IMF cannot tell you what to do if they don't lend you the money. IMF is the one that introduced 17% VAT for the first time. And Joe saying that it was so high, he gonna drop it down. Now he talking about the VAT day for school. The VAT day for school is not a service everybody. Is not everybody has children going to school. And I show most likely the VAT on school supplies. But if you take down the VAT, as you say, it was carrying it down to 13%, it will I will fight it forward now. It will benefit everybody.
That's true.
It will benefit everybody.
Yes, you'll
So
have.
anyway,
You'll have more, as we say, more disposable income, greater disposable income, more money to spend.
Exactly. Well, anyway, you have a nice weekend.
Thanks as well. You do the
Okay,
same,
bye.
my dear. Thanks a lot for your interventions. My Straight Talk family, for those who may have joined me late, our thesis tonight I have titled Extracting Money or Groundwater. And I made the point for the latecomers that it is said that monetary policy is the bedrock of any nation's economic policy. From workers to financial institutions, all are impacted whenever it shifts. The policy, that is. Central banks use monetary policy to manage the supply of money in a country's economy. But not so, at least it seems though, with our groundwater production policy. And clearly such a policy should be governed by the Water Courses and Water Works Act and subsidiary legislation. And my Straight Talk family though, putting the legislation aside, but based on empirical data and on empirical evidence, one can glean that extracting taxpayers' money from the treasury in Charlestown and or in Basildale is done at a rate that is umpteen times faster than pumping water out of the ground. And someone asked the question, how much water has BEAD delivered in St. Kitts? Well, I can say it should have delivered 2 million gallons since 2016. It has not delivered 30% of that amount to date. It violated its contract, and for some reason they are allowed to hang around, I call it. No matter what they say, no matter what this loudmouth would come and say. In many parts of the world, and here in St. Kitts, groundwater is the largest source of potable or usable fresh water. Here in St. Kitts, we are exposed to the climate variabilities, I call it. Climate change, sea level rises. And we were warned since 2007 about the possible salt intrusion in our aquifer well field. Because as the sea level rises, and because of our aquifers are along the coast, it is susceptible to salt intrusion. The recommendation was made since 2009 to move those wells higher inland or further inland to the north of the airport, to be exact. And just in case you are not aware, the Bastia Aquifer well field spans some 5,000 acres of land from the west in Olives Mountain to the northeast, the Canada Hills, and to the east, the Connery Hills. So all that area is our aquifer. The well field is to the east of the Kim Collins Highway. Let's go to the lines nonetheless. Caller, you're live.
Good evening, Patrice.
How are you, my brother?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Yeah, I'm thirsty for talking.
Mm-hmm.
Now, yeah, I want to second Jam down. But first, let me tell only one out of the ardent listeners them I have time to say good night to. That is Sha. Now, Patches, I agree with Jam down and also what you tell Jam down. If you owe the Social Security should get its money. But there are other people who outside who owe the Social Security thousands of dollars per years now. And they pay none. And instead of the pay Social Security, they use the status in Social Security and give a lazy man in Tongwa, we got a piece of stick in him out, never worked yet since he leaves school. And he was getting $500 every month from Social Security, all because of a big person who had clout in Social Security. So if them they could get Social Security money, take out them to man out of prison and let them go down to Social Security and make arrangement how they could pay it. Because look, this other man here who head of the law, the justice system in St. Kitts in the Federation. Look what he do to Social Security, and he out walking and boasting about he gonna make shame and name and shame people because people wasn't friendly with the Treasury. Look at that. Justice is not right. And until they do that, they should let go all who they got in there for Social Security. Now let me go to BEAD. This BEAD here. No, first of all, let me say Dr. Joe. I will say he was stupid, but he got the whole of St. Kitts people as too stupid. Because he know what BEAD do to Nevis. You hear what Mark went to say? Nevis per BEAD over $2 million to get water up there. And he ain't touch stroke. And he ain't put back Nevis Island Administration the money what they owe them. And that's why Mark went to say they're seeking legal assistance with that. And I agree with Mark. And so now BEAD now come back down here and sink it now. And he see well then that a lot of money was left there by Timothy with the surpluses. What is lines you come and talking saying about how they make deficit in the deficit? Why? What deficit? If they make deficit, how could he carry 15 people up to United Nations through the Chinese? He surplus meeting here where he wasting up the money and so therefore BEAD see then that we got money here and Joanny Cabal them wasting the money and so he could come here now and fool them that he digging well and find water. What kind of water? And look where he digging the well, right by the road. The higher he go up in the hills, where the water would have much gravity to come down and feed all over the place. Now they ain't going up there because they see well then that Joe is one stupid and the rest people in St. Kitts two stupid. And I think why Joe think the people in St. Kitts stupid because it's a whole year and over a week now we've been talking about the wrong things that they're doing. Just talking, Patrick, and no action behind talking. So you laughing and grinning, and you say, well, boy, you could do what you're doing because nobody to fight me down by protesting. Anyway, Patrick, I'll come back because we start late, and I want other people to get there too. They do.
Thank you for your...
Thank you so long. Yeah.
Thank you very much for your understanding. It's 10 before the 10 o'clock hour. We, in fact, have just 10 more minutes, but I will provide you a little bonus of 5 minutes. But so let's go back to the lines. Call you live. Hello, caller.
Patrick, good night.
Yes, sir.
Patrick,
yes,
good
sir.
night.
Good night, my brother.
You hearing me?
Yes, we're hearing you loud and clear.
Okay, Patrick. I want to call on all these young men in St. Kitts to please leave Mr. Issue Place alone. That gentleman give all the jackouts, boys and girls, work in this country. And it ain't a nice place in this country. They have to leave Mr. Kishu place them alone. I'm not gonna support it. And I know other men will support it. Again, that man freed poor people just like you in his last year. When you was the representative of that area. And we're not gonna support what this young man is doing to the organization. We're not gonna support it. So when they're ready, come, let it come. Because they're ready to. Have a good night, Patches. I love this country. I love this country, and none of them want to around this country. Everybody got to work. Everybody got to work. Work hard too. Have a good night.
Have a good night. Jam down. Always so passionate. Always forthright. You know, a patriot, exemplar. That's the right word. Jam down. Never afraid to speak. And perhaps we need many more jam downs, my Straight Dog family. It's 8 before the 10 o'clock hour. You may have joined me late. I did start about 5 minutes late as well. And we looked at the water situation in St. Kitts, and we looked at the benefits that one company seemed to be able to just get willy-nilly, my Straight Dog family. And it's very strange, as that caller before was speaking about BEAD and its lack of performance in Nevis, but I would add in the Federation. And this is what the caller referred to, as commented by
as I
Brantley.
indicated publicly before, we had made a commitment to have an additional 3 wells done at a global cost of $10 million EC dollars back in 2017. In fact, it was in August of 2017 that we paid to a company called BEAD just over $2 million EC dollars as a down payment. BEAD has never come to do the work for the government. And so we don't have our $2 million and we don't have any wells. We have decided to take legal action against BEAD that is ongoing. So it has not been for want of trying in relation to water.
And yes, my Straight Dog family, it's a very queer, very strange situation. I'm sure you would agree that we have two quote-unquote political entities in the Federation. The Nevis Island Administration, which has autonomy in Nevis, and the federal government, which has most of its autonomy in St. Kitts, barring foreign affairs and national security in Nevis. But there are two entities within the federal structure. And isn't it strange that one can take legal action against a foreign company and the other one, the other entity that is, does business, the same kind of business that that company has reneged on doing in Nevis, providing water. Just like in St. Kitts, they got over $2 million in mobilization and never delivered water as per the contract, as per their agreement. And isn't it strange that the water, the resource, it must be the resource belonging to the nation, to the Federation. And you're telling me if you find you drill, you're being paid to drill, and you find water, and the government must still pay you for that water? Something is really strange about this contract or this agreement. But the agreement reserved the right to the government to drill and contract for drilling at shallow aquifers, not more than 400 feet below the ground level. The government has the right, as well, reserved the right to engage a third-party expert to ensure that production wells were drilled, constructed, installed in accordance with the ASTM. And the ASTM is the American Society for Testing and Materials, which is a non-profit organization that develops and publishes approximately 12,000 technical standards covering the procedures for testing and classification of materials of every sort, including the water. And we hope and trust that the professional people within the Water Services Department will ensure that this testing is done in keeping with the ASTM standards as agreed. When that was done, it was found that a well that was drilled by BEAD since 2017 cannot be put into the system because of the quality of water that was tested, was found after testing that water. And I trust and hope that these politicians won't try to influence the processes. But if I know Kwame Williams well, I'm certain that he would not allow that as a professional. But this well, as you see on your screen, you can't see me, but you can see that well. It's been capped now for 6 years. And BEAD has failed to deliver that water that it purportedly drilled. Albeit it was drilled not in accordance with the agreement. They have violated the agreement on so many occasions, my Straight Talk family. They have violated the agreement, as I said. There's so many contractual violations. They have failed to meet the commencement date and term as stipulated. My Straight Talk family, they have in terms of their drilling project, even the then manager or acting manager of the Water Services Department, Dennis Paul, he wrote this in this September 2015. And I quote, he said that we therefore need to make provisions for BEAD not delivering in late 2015. And as per the agreement, they should have delivered some 2 million gallons of water in 2015. The decisions were taken, and perhaps they should have done back then what Mark is doing now in Nevis. But we didn't find that favor in the cabinet. Else we would not have been in this. My Straight Talk family, BEAD is on a mission to extract as much money as it can. Groundwater to BEAD is like going to the bank. Groundwater is a resource that it is in high demand. Not just groundwater, but water, period, my Straight Talk family. But BEAD has come with a history. I went back to 2007 and referred to an article from the spokesman which says this, my Straight Talk, from this observer, beg your pardon, which said this, and I quote, amid much controversy, drilling for water begins in Nevis. And that was 16 years ago. So BEAD has been controversial from the day it came to St. Kitts and Nevis. Call you live.
That is.
So.
Yeah, I am back with Mr. Kundu. Now, we all know, since that Jugan in there, he do not like people. Otherwise, he would not have removed the assistance that people were getting to help them to survive with food and pay our bills. He do not like people. And I'm telling people in Cayon, do not be fooled like the election. Remember he said, election can be bought, and that is what happened. Don't like commit and fool you with no food. A warning in your mind. See what he do to the gentleman, the Christian man, who lose one arm and one leg. See what he do to he? And then the other guy who took sick while he was working, he took sick, and his mother said he ain't get no help from them. And now, there is another one, an ex-co-worker of mine, when we used to work in the health department. I'll tell you all about her. Monday coming, God willing. But let me go up on the crime situation here. I heard a commentator this week on the radio saying that this crime business here, this sort of robbing and holding up with gun and all kind of thing, they need a swift trial and capital punishment, and without any jurors, so that no jurors can be bribed and let them get away. Because the amount of people that traumatize, and these people who were traumatized by these criminals, that traumatization going to follow them until they're dead. And we cannot allow these people to do this foolishness and then put them up in 1840 Pasture Phoenix and coming out and going to choose the food what they want to cook. Not them criminals, let's stay in there until they're ready to try them, and try them real quick. Don't put it up too much crime going on here. And if they don't put a stop and a curtail on these crime, nobody gonna want to come to St. Kitts. St. Kitts is too small for what's happening here. Those are big countries movement that they're bringing here. Anyway, time short. So let me go until next week, God willing. Have a good night. Watch your back. Jam down, good night. And Alice, good night.
Have yourself a good night as well. And that's the way we're going to end it tonight, my Straight Talk family. Yes, the issue of crime is still a very important issue. What's really troubling about all these issues, though, is that the Prime Minister has advanced no solutions. He's silent on everything. He lacks transparency on everything. A lady called today about the CBI. It's everybody's business. I mean, but he want to speak to the lady offline or some nonsense like that. The lady asked a question, answer the question. Everybody was waiting to hear the response and be informed. Why doesn't he want to inform people? The poor, the PAP, no solution. Cost of living, no solution. Increasing gas prices, no solution. Water issues, no solution. Bus drivers are looking at an increase, no solution. Absolutely no solution the Prime Minister is bringing for all the issues we have. My Straight Dog family, we discuss the issue of BEAD. BEAD well drilling, bedrock exploration, development. It operates, it seems, on the premise that the water stored in the ground is like money kept in a bank account. So they've drilled a well, we are told, in Cayon. There you can see it. In a few days, it's now capped. All their equipment, their drill rig is dismantled. You can see that. We understand they're now asking for more money to drill another well. Why can't they work on that well and show that it's economically feasible to produce the water from that well? How many gallons per minute are you getting from that well? Is it potable water? Is it clean water? These are the issues we need to address, my Straight Dog family. But we must be wary about the money being withdrawn at such a fast rate. And then we are not putting new money in that. My Straight Dog family, as we wind down tonight's programming, we've heard testimony, we've found documentation that the credibility of BEAD suggests many untoward things. As noted in the Observer of July 29, 2007, Dr. Dale Morgan, Professor of Geophysics and Associate Director of the Earth Resources Laboratory Limited, or Laboratory, beg your pardon, at the renowned Massachusetts Institute of Technology, claims that drilling plans of BEAD are based on bad science and will cause permanent damage to Nevis's ecosystem. What about St. Kitts? Have you thought about that? In an interview with the Observer, Dr. Bisson, Mr. Bisson was asked if BEAD signed a fraudulent contract in Grenada, to which he agreed and said this, and I quote, "What happens when you go to the court with people who are villains and basically have no assets? They're just ghosts. They're not real. This is pure chicanery on the part of these shadows of mine. The only thing you can do is throw light on them." He said, "It cost me $500,000 to fight my shadow." Just like in Grenada, they haven't produced a thing here in St. Kitts, my Straight Dog family. But the time will come, and we do wish them well. And I was happy to hear Dr. Drew speaking about prayer And he asked that we pray. But I took the time and I outlined from whence we came with BEAD and where we are today. And I trust that we all now understand where we are and where we are expect to be heading to with BEAD. And I did so in light of the fact that last week, Thursday, a foul lice got into the hen house. For that reason, I considered it important, beg your pardon, to make certain that the hen house was now properly fumigated to avoid infestation. A lot of blame has been peddled all over social media as well with respect to finding water in Cayon. And we remember, and we see how these politicians are celebrating. My Street Dog family, the capped well we saw in Cayon today is a stark reminder of the capped well at Shadwell. Dr. Drew asked us to pray for the people of Cayon, and I agree with him. But I submit it takes much more than prayer, Dr. Drew. One of the first things you must do is to stop behaving, as my friend reminded me the other day, of the ancient mariner. Stop behaving like the ancient mariner because you brush away the frost that rhymes your beard, or else you may soon end up shouting water, water everywhere, and not a drop to drink. You lied about team unity and who signed the contract with BEAD. And Sean clarified that. My Straight Dog family, as we wind down tonight, BEAD had so many contractual violations, one after the other, and especially in terms of the quality of the water. My Street Dog family, as I wind down, is some food for thought. That's troubling. Whether BEAD can legally be paid for the drill or the drilling of water that's owned by the state and still charge the state for 15 years to buy water from BEAD. Waterworks, which means reservoirs, wells. My Street family. Water courses and waterworks are vested in the crown and should be always vested in the crown. But we nevertheless keep hope alive for the residents in Cayon and elsewhere. But do not be fooled by these politicians, especially the ones who deliver water in fire trucks. My Street Dog family, it takes time to develop wells. Wells are not developed overnight. And I'll leave you with this guidance from Cromwell Williams.
From your experience, Mr. Williams, how long typically does it take from beginning to end when we can actually see the well functioning? How long will it take?
That's a very good question. Of course, a typical well will in that area will be several hundred feet deep, probably about 3 or more 100 feet deep, and that process of drilling that well should take a couple of months if it is successful, because we have to realize that well drilling is a high risk process because it is difficult to determine exactly what you're going to find when you drill 300 feet or more down into the ground. But we are assuming that we will be successful, and once we're successful, we then have to develop that well, and the whole process could take, I would say, anywhere from about 6 months from the time you start drilling to the time you're expected to get water from that well.
In the meantime, Straight Talk has learned that BEAD has requested more money from the Jew government to start drilling another well. BEAD knows how to extract money from our treasury. So what do you think about this company BEAD? Extracting money or groundwater? That's my story tonight, my Straight Talk family, and I am not going to change it. I want to thank all of you who listened tonight, all of you who sent emails, all of you who joined me on YouTube and Facebook. You didn't see the picture, and I apologize for that. But remember that you are the ones who make Straight Talk. And for that reason, I say a big, big thank you. So until we connect on Monday for another edition of Straight Talk, be good to yourselves and to all whom you meet. And my Straight Talk family, remember, whatever your mind conceive, that you will achieve. But you first of all, you got to believe. So when you wake in the morning, thank God for the morning light. Thank Him for taking you through the night. And my Straight Talk family, keep moving on. Have yourselves a wonderful weekend. Bye-bye. Until we connect on Monday.